This is Camnet News. Thank you so much for choosing us. My name is Sharon Kalimbula. The top stories on our desk this evening: given LUBINDA accused of leading the Patriotic Front into oblivion. SHIWANG'ANDU Member of Parliament Stephen KAMPYONGO challenges law enforcers to treat former government officials with respect. Senior Chief MPEZENI urges government to provide inclusive development. In international news, South Africa protesting miners stop RAMAPHOSA May Day speech. And in sports, BARDSLEY, England and Manchester City goalkeeper announces retirement. Thank you for joining us once again. The news in detail. A 30-year-old woman of Eastern Province was recently abandoned by her husband and left stranded in Lusaka's Kanyama compound has thanked government for coming to her aid and addressing her plight. Martha Tembo appeared on Camnet TV in February 2022, narrating how her husband, named Jackson Mwale, abandoned her and the children after coming to Lusaka to start a new life. The government, through the Ministry of Community Development, has come to the aid of the distressed mother of three by providing transport for her to travel back to her village and some capital for her to start up a business. Details in this report.
On the 12th of April 2022, Martha Tembo appeared on Camnet TV narrating how she had no means of surviving the harsh economic condition of Lusaka because her husband, identified as Jackson Mwale, on whom she depended for survival, abandoned her and the children. This mother of three also indicated that her circumstances had become worse as she no longer had a roof over her head after floods washed away the house in which her family had been living in Eastern Province. She had disclosed that her husband brought her to Lusaka from a village in Eastern Province to start a new life with her, but after a year of being in a married relationship, abandoned her and the kids.
business and then pesa kwanjira utipeleke kwa wana ku school stand wana ku school yainga kupeleka kuchana ndio walete hapa nibera ati banantumira phone ati nyumba inawo kwa na manzi.
However, a few months down the line after this clip was aired, the government has come to the aid of this woman.
Pontandizira pontenga kunipeleka kuboma kuti nabebe futi banyanganepo nabebe futi niwatokoza kunlandira kwana nilandira niwatokoza bapitirize mtima waso basasiye tokoza futi wa president watu niwatokoza kuti mtima waso basasiye kutandiza abantu wao basasiye kuzi nichoka mungu nienda kumunzi.
Government, through the Ministry of Community Development, has assisted the woman with transport to go back to Eastern Province and also has provided her with some business capital. This was confirmed by Concerned Citizen for Justice and Human Rights Director Richard Nkua, the community human rights organization where she had first reported a case to.
Tembo, she sought help from us as the office, as Concerned Citizen for Justice and Human Rights. And also we made an appeal to the international organization and also local churches and the government. The government came on board to help Martha Tembo. They offered transportation to transport Martha Tembo and the 3 children to Malambo.
Miriam Kaimba reporting for Camnet TV News.
Still in Kanyama compound, Mutandabantu area, in where people are appealing for well wishers to assist them pay for the 11-year-old daughter's medical bills. In an exclusive interview, Grace Chilanga, mother to the child battling with sickle cell and stroke, says her child is also experiencing other frequent health conditions. Mrs. Chilanga says doctors at the University Teaching Hospital told her that she needed to pay an amount of 1,000 kwacha for her daughter to undergo brain surgery, but that she has no capacity to raise the resources. Miriam Kaimba once again filed this report.
Not in her wildest dreams did 41-year-old Grace Chilanga think her first child would be fighting for her life so early. The distressed mother says that her whole world was shaken when doctors at the University Teaching Hospital told her in June 2021 that her once vibrant and jovial 11-year-old daughter, Ruth Chilanga, was diagnosed with sickle cell. Sickle cells affect the red blood cells that carry oxygen around the body. These cells form into a sickle shape and can block blood vessels, causing agonizing pain and creating a risk of life-threatening complications. Due to prolonged treatment, the condition has led to Ruth having a stroke, a situation that has left her paralyzed.
Matenda mwana wanga namba mu 2018 twalimpikira kwenda ku hospital takamonga akalako nkasako kutoka hapo last year mu June ndepala ndembera manje chipepa na kumpeleka manje kuitieti kujaba ndo mpima peka twampita na sikoseo na stroke ndepena mugwira manje stroke cha namba 2 ndepena mbwa kumumenya manje kumusirizira tuvose manje.
Inside the shanty of Lusaka's Mutandabantu, located in Kanyama constituency, Grace Chilanga, together with her husband, a general worker, survive on repairing bicycles. But looking at the harsh economy, with a big family of 11, sharing this 3-roomed house and caring for their sick daughter seemed to be a challenge, as they also have to spend 10 kwacha every single day to buy diapers apart from buying food.
Dandalanga kuti mawantandizeko chape bantu. Ucheya ndalama twapelebera ogula makwala mwana. Madaipa twapelebera socha pachipunda mpasani koni tumgweko daipa ya mwana sochape. Nezo kupeleka ku beat ya blood. So apana tukamkusiza last month asila. Kutoka mbatapati nisikose ochape, nisikose ochape na stroke sochape. The
worried mother says the family has failed to raise 1,000 kwacha, the amount that was requested at the hospital for her daughter's treatment, and is now turning to the public for assistance.
Pamena mugwira maningi wanatuza kuti mlete 1 pin utakamiste operation ku brain, so endera menashita bwanji inakangwa kupezeka. Tunakamba tawe tubendalama atendani kuliba social fair kwa mina kuja ku hospital kuja ku church atutumiza twaenda na peka pepa na dandaula tulipa na poika patia sema mwaikapo 500 dola 250 dola 500 zitabani sifutamikira nipo tumafunati tukawatandiza hapo twakaikapo kangono na ipo tuishita bwanji tuikapo manje umakamba kuti mwapelewera ndalama so situngamtandizeni first msakire ndalama kuti muikirepo na ipo tuzamikira nipo tutamshite chana mwite operation mwana ndiye pe vina kangiwa pamene hapo.
Miriam Kaimba reporting for Camnet TV News.
Some aged people in Lusaka's John Howard compound have lamented the high cost of living, calling on government to incorporate them into the social cash transfer program. The elderly persons who gathered at John Howard Community Hall Sunday for a consultation meeting with the Zambia Community Development Initiative Program, in collaboration with the Ward Development Committee for John Howard Ward 3, says a lack of basic necessities and proper accommodation needs them to be incorporated into the social cash transfer program. Meanwhile, ZCDI program coordinator Joseph Shambosha says his organization has embarked on the identification process of senior members of the general public across the country within the age range of 80 years and above for moral, material and financial support.
With over 80 years of age, they gathered John Howard Community Hall of Lusaka's John Howard compound with different stories to share on their well-being to organizers, the Zambian Community Development Initiative, in collaboration with the Ward Development Committee for John Howard Ward 3. Melita Mulinga, 86 years, laments of her dilapidated housing structure, which she has endured for years since losing her children.
Nyumba yanga iligo nyumba ilibe na mawindo muzuva ndisa niga kendulo kuti niwaneko jamene nipuna munyumba muna banga bana pamuya itesigisi kufika na nanje nizisunganirineka ya chita chifundo kuganizira pa ma old ages munga bamayi banga banabo mwandini kunkala niko vutikira chabe bali kwedda abana benze nabana bose banasira ku nasala ndiro so kunkala niko vutikira nice boma kutitandizira.
However, they submit solution which they feel government and local authorities can embrace going forward.
Abo bashikita benefit Muma request yonse nangwa president wale pellet filambo kuma freedom fighters takwa banangu gumo kuno kujona. Secondly, kuli ababene abakalamba bali bantu abayishibe nchito shimbisha kusana in all of fair yali no bwakuba yakuti abakalamba bale funda mu misepela nchito shakale. But tuikala fe kumayanda takwa fe tufunda banayo kushe kuno kujona wati teti watu pele ko fenango ni area inono uko tuingala chita offload ifyo twayishi bakale twasambirisha abana ngefitu chiripacha wa maskills.
Meanwhile, Joseph Shambosha, the CDI program coordinator, says it is with such issues that his organization has embarked on the identification process of the senior members of the general public across the country with age range of 80 years and above for moral, material and financial support.
Yes, and I want to tell you that we love you. You are important to our communities. Kulibei imwe asemesina burdens. Maona ka? So not everyone does your power muntu akakula akakota bamuyopa and mundu alienza zakakota. Siko nature ndiye mulungu ndiye mwanafangira chevinge. Kwani sepena kuzigulira unga pa nyumba kapena taleta ko kali konze but see every day. Mwamvera? Yes, kali konze katabeza kana ngata fofara.
And John Howard WDC chairman Davison Mwende has commended the organization for such an initiative.
Evenze pamozi naime wa WDC monga mene muzivira ine chairman nabajani wa chairman wa zone n'abandi wa chairman bana bantu mubaziba nawe yanali kutika makova ya bari yabo bena ngusibaripo bakansera baziba bamene biri kuchitika ibi tero gifugwa cyayitwa antwa mulungu tinkari bazati pasa bamene bazati pasa tiwonga Yehova kutati pasa unga masiku ano nodura mwana wa muntu kupasa teno onga ziko.
The organization later shared a meal with the aged while asking for well wishes to come on board and support this noble cause. Alex Shimba, Camnet News in Lusaka.
It says the Member of Parliament, Mutinda Twambo, says women may not benefit meaningfully from the Constituency Development Fund if deliberate programs aimed at building capacity are not put in place. In an interview with Camnet News, Mr. Twambo says many women in his constituency still have challenges on how to write a business proposal or come up with a viable business idea due to high illiteracy levels. And the Itestezi lawmaker has also called on women to consider setting up companies aimed at delivering development in the constituency. Details in this report.
For many years now, women have lagged behind in economic activities, often taking difficult jobs like stone crushing, which however have a low pay. For women with disabilities, participating in economic activities has nearly been impossible, hence leaving them to depend on handouts. Zambia's 2022 national budget, however, has a provision for women, as 20% of the 25.7 million kwacha for each constituency has been reserved for this. Itestezi Member of Parliament, Mr. Mutinda Twambo, says with such funds, there is need to ensure that women benefit sustainably by moving away from traditional ventures such as chicken rearing. Some women have been indicating that they will no longer participate in the empowerment funds as they do not know how to write business proposals.
If we not to feel kwanisha, panfetuale monati, kuikala fya penaka group, tuana mkutuala kuria, vatu lembera nempia shastashan shafu. Namba twaisa mfatio, kusenda ama proposal, nomba impia na kwena kuria, kuya mkulipira. Kuya mkusenda ama certificate, kuya mkulipira. So namba group yesifenga tuwa bebati, malefu wa efya so, vale kana. So namba fituafika na pokwe bati, tuana katuwa file kafi.
The Itestezi MP has therefore called for capacity to be built in these women.
In this kind of a benefit that we are anticipating that the women should get, it should be one which is sustainable. We need to ensure that the gender division gets decentralized more to the constituency level. If you look at the ownership of companies, the companies that are going to get the biggest share of these constructions of schools, construction of hospitals, construction of roads, they are still owned by men.
The Itestezi Member of Parliament asked that there is need to educate women on how to handle these funds so that they do not end up in the hands of men.
Because what we want to see at the end of the day, we want to see the women that will have the right information on how to access CDF. We want to see the women that will be able to make applications for CDF that are viable, that are more innovative, that will give them more business, that will give them more profit. And eventually, we want to see that CDF changes the lives of these women. How shall CDF change the lives of the women and girls? The women and girls should be in control of these resources. They should make the decisions on how they're going to use the money.
Sustainable Development Goal number 5, to which Zambia subscribes, hopes to achieve gender equality by 2030. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Patriotic Front National Mobilization Committee member Bizwa Mutale has accused party acting president Given LUBINDA of sending the party into oblivion. In a statement issued to Camnet News, Mr. Mutale, who played an instrumental role towards the 2021 general elections, says the PF needed a better leader to survive after a humiliating loss to the United Party for National Development. Mr. Mutale notes that the current crop of the Central Committee members have been rejected and asked to step down to allow the party rebrand and gain confidence to the PF members and generally members of the public, but that the acting president has failed to hear the cries of the people. He adds that the new recycled non-performing members of the Central Committee appointed by Patriotic Front acting president Given LUBINDA is a final nail in the coffin for the Patriotic Front to rest. Mr. Mutale, who is also presidential hopeful, says the PF is sinking because the current leadership is not honest. Let's look at this.
I have followed the unfolding events in the Patriotic Front highest organ making decision in our party, which is the member of Central Committee. The decision that have been taken by Honorable Given LUBINDA as the Deputy Acting President, I think I want to be very open. I decline. This has continued and it demonstrated that the party is going nowhere, and it has put the party to be a party that can never be rebranded. Not even looking at 2026 can come back. We have to kiss 2026 goodbye, and we can never tolerate this kind of non-performance member of Central Committee that are being imposed at any time as they feel. This need to change, and this party cannot be accepted operating in this manner.
Interesting views there. In other news, former Home Affairs Minister Stephen Kampyongo says former public officials who served in the previous administration are available to answer to any allegations that may be leveled against them. In an interview, Mr. Kampyongo says all they want is to be treated with dignity and not harassment. Mr. Kampyongo charges that the tendency by law enforcement agencies visiting former public officials and harassing them once they leave office should not be tolerated, as it goes against the rights of individuals.
Not be subjected to questions from the members of the public. I'm the former Minister of Home Affairs. I don't mind being arrested if I'm found wrong. It would have even been the same sitting in the office as a citizen. If I broke the law, I was to be visited by the law. But what shouldn't be seen is to this perception of saying they can only visit certain people when they are no longer in authority. And how do you act on those people? I'm not just an ordinary citizen. I'm not a superhuman. But when I was privileged to be Minister of Home Affairs, I would die as such. And I have respected my predecessors who had been in that ministry, and I was consulting them from time to time. And so the presidents we set sometimes must be weighed on the scale. Yes, we can humiliate Kampion as a human being, but you shouldn't ignore the office that was holding when it was a government. The Minister of Defense as well, very critical ministry, is a human being, not above the law. But when you look at the responsibilities he carried when he was supervising that ministry, you have to weigh the actions you take against them. But like I've said, we are available to answer for any allegations that will be leveled against us. But we just want to be treated with dignity.
Zambians United for Sustainable Development President Lazarus Chisela has called on the United Party for National Development to urgently consider revamping the textile industry in Zambia. In an interview, Mr. Chisela notes that despite Zambia's potential to become one of the main exporters of fabric, the sector is still limping. Mr. Chisela says the textile industry, if well managed, has the capacity to create jobs not only for those who will be employed by the industry, but for cotton farmers as well. He says it is only when such measures are done, the country will begin to see significant changes in its economy, which will trickle down to the common man.
We already have had that before. We had Kafue Textiles. It was producing clothes. It was turning cotton into fabrics. Now, look at ourselves. Everything we are buying from abroad, even the uniforms for the police, even the uniforms for the military, for the schools, we were producing that, and that's what we want to see this government do. That we go back to our drawing board, they go back to the drawing board and look at the way Kaunda prepared this country in terms of production. Yes, there was somebody who said that European countries are looking for markets, so that in a few years to come, Africa will become the biggest market for Europe. Zambia has already become a market. Look at all the clothes that we are wearing.
Opposition National Restoration Party faction President Charles Maboshe has called on members of the party that left due to confusion that emanated as a result of the expulsion of Stephen Nyirenda to go back and rejoin the party. Mr. Maboshe told journalists at a media briefing in Lusaka Monday that the leadership of NAREP is no longer being contested after Mr. Nyirenda withdrew the case to challenge his expulsion. Mr. Maboshe says the concert judgment was passed on the 24th of March 2022 in the High Court, which laid to rest the wrangles which had temporarily consumed the party. And NAREP president, who is also part of the UPND alliance, says his party has appointed Alan Sakala as party spokesperson, while Isaac Mumba has been appointed as Special Assistant to the Office of the President.
And if you may recall, what happened was that, you see, there was some wrangles. When we were having an NEC meeting, our colleague then didn't want to recognize the sitting NEC members. He wanted to appoint his own. That's how the problem started. The NEC went there to have a forum, and politely so, they passed a no-confidence motion in our previous president. But the next day, he went to put an injunction, court injunction, to bar us from participating in the activities of NAREP. Despite that, we are the people we invited to come and join him. So it was a painful period indeed. But we have succumbed to it. We followed the law to the letter.
The idea of the UPND alliance was birthed by NAREP under the able leadership of President Shimon by then. When the mayor of Lusaka died in 2018, that's when we took this proposal to President HH by then to say, President, let's come together. That's the only way we can defeat the PF. And this is how the idea of the UPND alliance was birthed. For anybody to come to say, no, let us leave this baby, this bed that we have, we leave it. It was practically impossible. So we differed on principle, and up to this very day, we have no hard feelings for Mr. Nyirenda. He still remains a citizen, and respect him in that regard, but we differed politically.
In other news, Chief MPEZENI of the Ngoni-speaking people in Eastern Province has called on the United Party for National Development Administration to ensure that it delivers balanced and sustainable development to all parts of the country without segregation. Speaking at his palace Monday morning, when the UPND Secretary General Batuke Emenda paid a courtesy call on him, the chief says the advertised vacancies for health and education workers and indicated that the country is in the right track to achieving the score. Meanwhile, UPND Secretary General Batuke Emenda has called on chiefs to work with government through educating their subjects on the need to participate in business opportunities using Constituency Development Fund.
Chief MPEZENI of the Ngoni-speaking people of Eastern Province says rural areas of the country are in serious need of development as they have been lagging behind for a long time. While other parts of the country have thriving infrastructure such as roads has remained a challenge in these areas, hence hindering many economic activities. Speaking when United Party for National Development UPND Secretary General Batuke Emenda paid a courtesy call on him Monday at his palace, the chief says the UPND should therefore ensure even development. He has applauded the recent advertisements for teachers and health workers, indicating that this is pointing in the right direction. Meanwhile, UPND Secretary General Mr. Batuke Emenda says the UPND administration will ensure that these calls are answered, beginning with the Constituency Development Fund CDF.
The King came out clean and said the CDF funds will benefit a lot of people. It will benefit a lot of people because it is managed by the locals themselves. He is mindful of the fact that in the previous regimes, people used to disperse funds all the way from the treasury in Lusaka. But in the new government, President Hakainde Chilema has accorded an opportunity to the people in the rural areas to manage their own funds at a level of the constituency. He also expressed the concerns of the people in a situation where people used to be given money to construct roads.
Officials from the UPND are in Eastern Province for a 6 days working visit. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News.
You're watching Camnet News. We take our first set of commercials. When we return, we have more interesting stories. Stay with us.
Savanda. Save nations, develop Africa. Connecting African countries to each other and connecting the African continent to the world. This logistics and global supply chain management group offers end-to-end solutions across all sectors of the economy: agriculture, energy, telecommunications, finance, construction, transportation, and insurance. And now, its initiatives are greener than ever, operating in line with government guidelines and working to provide energy security for Zambia and beyond. 25 companies united under one group and one vision. Savanda. Trade and logistics made easy.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes, and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
In keeping with the school tradition, it's the May 2022 Back to School with Butter Toffees. Get the all-new Butter Toffees original leather school shoes that are antifungal and antibacterial treated, hence reducing common school shoe odor and thus are eco-friendly. Hurry to your nearest Butter outlet countrywide and grab a pair of the all-new original Butter Toffees. Butter. Built to last, built for life.
Camnet TV is becoming big and better. You can now watch Camnet TV wherever you are around the world, simply by downloading the Camnet TV app. With Camnet TV app, you only use less bundles. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back. You're still watching Camnet News. Thank you for staying on. Government says it is working on legalizing illegal mining activities with proper mechanisms that will ensure safety and productivity in Central Province. Central Province Minister Credo Nanjoa says many deaths have been recorded this far due to illegal mining activities in the province, and that government is looking for investors to partner with local people to ensure that lives are protected. Mr. Nanjoa says government will not allow any more deaths as a result of illegal mining activities and has assured his administration will ensure that local people are empowered with skills to allow them fully participate and benefit from the minerals that the country is endowed with.
The month of April was characterized with some disturbing news in the mining sector involving the illegal mining activities that saw some miners' lives lost in Mumbo district of Central Province. It is with such incidents that government suspended all forms of illegal mining activities in the province. However, Central Province Minister Credo Nanjoa says government is working towards legalizing illegal mining activities with proper and strict measures which will ensure safety and productivity in Central Province. He has told the media that there is need to look for investors who can partner with local people and ensure that the people's lives are protected in the province.
Everywhere who have come with those detectors, actually they are the biggest beneficiaries of that illegal mining which takes place there. So we want to reorganize the mining activities to legalize. We are also trying to come up with a concept on how we can actually legalize the illegal mining, because those people our own people, after we have isolated the foreigners out of that, our people have also learned how to do some mining. They may not have the skill, but we should come up with a concept that is going to help those illegal miners who have got the passion to do the mining to get that skill and also be helped to do the legal mining. Other than just throwing them in the court, we should be able to help them and translate them from illegals to legals.
Meanwhile, the minister says government will not allow any more deaths that have overwhelmed the mining sector. In the same interview, he underscored the need to work on the most economic roads in the province.
Level and at provincial level and national level. We are engaging with the Ministry of Infrastructure. That road be put under some PPP arrangement so that it is worked on. It's one of the roads that the province is putting as a priority. Mumbwa Kasempa Road, the Landress Corner Road to Mumbwa, the Ngawe Road, the other road to Wano. So these roads, they are really getting the attention of the provincial administration, and we are putting them as a priority projects.
Alex Shimba, Camnet News in Lusaka.
Some residents of Lusaka's Libala area in Kawata constituency want the relevant authorities to investigate who is behind the careless disposal of medical waste in the drainage along Chilumbolo Road. Kenan Piri, a resident, has told Camnet News that it is saddening to note that the tendency of disposing medical waste in drainages and open spaces has continued in the country and that no culprits have so far been brought to book. Mr. Piri says medical waste is hazardous not just to humans but the environment and says investigations should be intensified to catch the culprits.
Thursday, 28th April 2022, the Republican President Hakainde Hichilema emphasized the need to localize the Keep Zambia Clean and Green campaign.
If we don't clean our environment, if we live with that, we will basically be afflicted with disease. Cholera. Cholera. Other death-based diseases. Then we get sick, our people get sick.
Despite the emphasis on unsuspected health facilities in Lusaka, have dumped medical waste in a drainage in Lusaka's Livala area of Kawata constituency. A check by Camnet News at the site found some bags containing used medical materials. We managed to get some reactions from some Lusaka residents who had this to say.
I have a look at my background. This is not safe. Okay, if you take a closer look at what is contained in those plastic, it's actually things that have been disposed of by health institutions. And these look like people who are doing surgery, and it's not looking clean. Recently, we've been having a lot of outbreaks of cholera, and such needs to be looked into by the government.
They have since demanded that investigations be made to establish the root cause of such acts.
Denji, Lusaka, and through my own disappointment, I was taking a walk and I suddenly found this litter right here in the drainage system. And I'm not really happy about this because looking at what we've been offered and the promises by the president and this that it's done by the health system, this actually looks like something that has been done by people that are doing medical personnel and the like. And this is not supposed to be this way. This is not really, really good. And we feel that this must be looked up to and this has to be sorted out.
The National Healthcare Waste Management Plan for 2019 to 2024 provides an overview of the situation analysis, the proposed activities, and the healthcare facility waste generating processes in Zambia. Blessings Chakwila, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Health Minister Sylvia Masebo has reported that the country has lost more than 300 health workers to COVID-19 from the time the pandemic broke out in the country 2 years ago. The minister, who addressed the media during her routine COVID-19 update, has encouraged health workers to ensure that they get vaccinated. And Ms. Masebo has expressed concern that a lot of money is being spent on vaccines, yet people are shunning the exercise, resulting in some vaccines expiring. The minister says the ministry will relaunch the COVID-19 vaccination program on the 14th of May 2022 after the first one launched by President Hakainde Hichilema. She says the country has in the last 24 hours recorded 22 new COVID-19 cases out of 1,400 tests conducted.
Despite Zambia having an overall national positivity of COVID-19 vaccinations at 2%, there is still a low intake rate of COVID-19 vaccines by citizens. Government says the current vaccinations recorded are against the country's target of vaccinating 70% people by the third quarter of 2022. The minister in charge of health, Silva Marcel, brought this to light during a COVID-19 update. The country has not recorded any COVID-19 related deaths the past week.
We have all the vaccines, and some of the vaccines will be made and start expiring, and citizens are not coming forward to get vaccinated. Citizens are not coming forward to get their booster doses. Citizens are not bringing their children to get vaccinated. And now the health workers are beginning to leave the hospitals to start following people everywhere where they are. I think there comes a time when people should take responsibility.
The minister has since urged the members of the public to get vaccinated against COVID-19.
And this is a call that I have on the citizens of Zambia to say, please, let's help the health workers. We are stretched enough as a ministry. There are a number of challenges that the ministry is going through. Challenges of numbers in hospitals, challenges of bed spaces. Sometimes in some areas, you go in rural areas, you find one bed, you have 2 patients, one bed, you have 3 babies. Some of these sicknesses can be prevented if people took personal responsibility of their health and their environment. And so, what I can say is that the fight against diseases must not only start and end with staff in the Ministry of Health or health workers. No.
Meanwhile, the country has in the last 24 hours recorded 22 confirmed COVID-19 cases and 0 deaths. Blessings Chakwila, Camnet News, Lusaka.
The Road Transport and Safety Agency RTSA says it will be announcing proposed changes in bus fares in the course of this week. This follows RTSA and bus operators consultative meeting held on Monday, 2nd May 2022 to consider a proposed reduction in bus fares following the drop in fuel pump prices announced by the Energy Regulation Board Saturday. In a press statement availed to Camnet News, Agency Public Relations Officer Frederick Mubanga says the proposed reduction in bus fares will be effected after approval by all concerned stakeholders, including the Ministry of Transport and Logistics. The meeting was attended by Bus and Taxi Owners Association of Zambia, Commuter Rights Association, and the Zambia Consumer Association, ZACA.
The Road Transport and Safety Agency, RTSA, today held a consultative meeting with bus operators and other road transport stakeholders to consider a proposed reduction in bus fares. Therefore, the proposed reduction or variation in bus fares will be announced in the course of this week after the approval by all concerned stakeholders, including the Ministry of Transport and Logistics.
We take another set of commercials. When we return, we have sports and international news. Stay with us.
Team, the trajectory of the business looks very positive, and it looks like we'll be able to launch the ministry.
There's so much data.
Mom.
Yes, baby.
It says here, global warming and climate change is caused by the pollution from careless activities of human beings.
Wow!
Son, do you know I can turn my phone into a TV remote?
How's that possible?
It's so easy. Check this out.
Be smart, be fast with mega data from Zamtel. Get your 15 GB mobile data for only 100 kwacha, 30 GB mobile data for only 200 kwacha, and your 70 GB LTE data bundle with free Netflix, YouTube, Facebook, and WhatsApp. Visit our Facebook page, website or service centers countrywide for more information. Zamtel, your digital lifestyle partner.
We welcome you to the wonderful world of Savenda Electronics.
At Savenda Electronics, we pride ourselves in manufacturing high-quality electricity and water meters.
Boasting of the first of its kind state-of-the-art manufacturing plant in Zambia, Savenda Electronics manufactures customized smart electricity and water meters of international standards for both the local and international water and electricity utility companies. Our highly computerized factory, run by qualified staff, makes, calibrates, and electronically tests the smart meters to ensure only those meeting customer specifications are delivered to the market. Some of the main features which come with our meters includes notifications about low units, tempering, low battery, and many more customized features. Savenda Electronics provides on and off-site after-sales service and has favorable contract terms for water and electricity utility companies. Savenda Electronics, the real deal.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying on. In international news, more than 100 civilians have been evacuated from the besieged steel plant in eastern Ukrainian city Mariupol. This was after the United Nations and the International Red Cross brokered a deal to extract non-combatants from the site of the most destructive siege of the war in Ukraine. The evacuees will arrive in Ukrainian-controlled city of Zaporizhzhia on Monday, President Volodymyr Zelensky tweeted. In other news, protesting miners in South Africa stopped President Cyril Ramaphosa made a speech. Here is a roundup of international news.
Listen there. Okay, that's fine.
For workers, we're resolute on that. If they don't give us an increment, workers here, all of us here, those who are not in source, those who are not getting increments, we are going to hold this country. We are willing to die for the workers. We're not going to die for leaders, but we are dying for the workers because that's what we've been fighting for.
Crawling out of the rubble of Mariupol's Azovstal steel plant and finally on their way to safety. These people have been sheltering in bunkers and tunnels underneath the complex as it came under continuous bombardment by Russian forces. We've been waiting here for 2 months. They tell how they were running out of food.
Children always wanted to eat. You know, adults can wait.
The man filming this video, released by Ukraine's Azov battalion, says they're trying to get people out while the Russians aren't shooting. The evacuation was part of what the United Nations called a safe passage operation during a temporary ceasefire agreed by Russia and Ukraine.
Today, finally, we managed to start the evacuation of the people from Azovstal. After many weeks of negotiations and many different meetings, people, calls, countries, proposals, finally. There was not a single day that we didn't try to find a solution to ensure the safe rescue of those people.
Up to 1,000 civilians and 2,000 Ukrainian fighters are believed to have ended up inside the plant, surrounded by Russian forces, in the last Ukrainian-held territory in the port city. People who were evacuated spoke of the terror they experienced and of having to live in darkness for more than 60 days.
When the shells started landing at Azovstal, I thought my heart would stop and I would not survive it.
A Ukrainian commander still in the bunker says there's not enough water and the air smells of decomposing bodies.
I hope the evacuations will continue. I hope our government and the third party, the UN mission, the Red Cross, will all try to evacuate all civilians, not only from the plant, but from Mariupol in general. I also hope to evacuate all the injured and killed, to evacuate all soldiers who are here now.
Some of those evacuated went to the Russian-held village of BARDSLEY. Others headed to Ukrainian territory, in the city of Zaporizhia. Mariupol authorities say 100,000 people remain in what's left of the city, with hundreds more below ground at the steelworks, a factory that's become a symbol of Ukrainian resistance. Alexia O'Brien, Al Jazeera.
They're from the Manobo-Pulangian tribe, considered one of the very first inhabitants in the southern region of Mindanao. But Datu Rolando Anglao and his clan have lived on this roadside for many years now. They hope to take back more than 1,000 hectares of land, now privately owned, that once belonged to their ancestors. They were shot at by gunmen, despite having written government permission to reclaim their land. Charita del Socorro was shot, together with 3 other Manobos.
Private army, nagbuto na.
The gunmen came from nowhere and started shooting at us. When I fell, I thought, what sort of life do we live?
We've been corralled. For 5 years, we pleaded to Duterte's administration to help us. No one is here to protect us. People here don't see us as human beings. To them, we are garbage.
The Manobos were also attacked 5 years ago when their leader Renato Anglao was shot dead. His killing remains unresolved.
The story of Manobo Pulangion is a story that is repeated many times over. According to the international group The Global Witness, the Philippines is the deadliest country for land defenders across the Asian continent, and Mindanao holds the highest number of recorded killings.
When President Rodrigo Duterte was sworn into office in 2016, he vowed to defend the plight of indigenous peoples and the environment. But at least 160 environmental defenders were killed between 2016 and 2020. A shocking increase, say many, even for a country long accustomed to violence. The tribe's people killed often spoke out against illegal logging, mining, and dam projects. Climate change is also a threat. Extreme weather also devastates vulnerable communities. And many Filipinos hope that after Duterte retires in July, the next administration will shift its focus and protect indigenous peoples, considered by some here to be the last line of defense against climate breakdown. Jamela Alindogan, Al Jazeera, Bukidnon Province, Southern Philippines.
Well, that's it for international news. We go straight into sports news. England and Manchester City goalkeeper Karen Bardsley will retire at the end of the season following a 13-year career at the top of the women's game. The 37-year-old has 81 caps for England, while she won 8 major trophies with City, including their first Women's Super League title. Bardsley has struggled for the game time, though since picking up a hamstring injury at the 2019 World Cup. Bardsley's last league match for City was against Aston Villa in January 2021. That news item ends our news this evening. The headlines once again. Given LUBINDA accused of leading the Patriotic Front into oblivion. SHIWANG'ANDU Member of Parliament Stephen KAMPYONGO challenges law enforcers to treat former government officials with dignity. Paramount Chief MPEZENI urges government to provide inclusive development. In international news, South Africa's protesting miners stop Ramaphosa's May Day speech. And in international news, BARDSLEY, England and Manchester City goalkeeper, announces retirement. We now look at the Camnet verse of the day, and it's coming from Psalms 18 verse 2, and it reads, "The Lord is my rock, my fortress, and my deliverer, my God, my mountain where I seek a refuge, my shield and the horn of my salvation, my stronghold." Well, thank you so much for choosing Camnet TV. Good night.